it has come to my attention that Automobilista 2 has been cracked. And what I mean by that is, every other sim on the market, as far as I know, maybe not Race Room, but all of them, or most of them, have meta setups. And what I mean by that is that each sim, they have a few quirks in the physics which makes it so certain setups which shouldn't work actually do. And in ACC you have some weird things with the suspension. In race, in RF2 you had some weird thing with the rear brake, with the rear ARBs and sliding everywhere. And in Automobilista 2 you have something also with the suspension, but something which I will explain in a bit later exactly what. And I've gotten a meta setup. I'm not going to use it right now because I just want to try out some things with a similar setup, and I don't want to show that meta setup to get in trouble, because as far as I know that cost quite a few euros, and I don't want to reveal something for free. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to first try the Cadillac V-Series.R because the meta setup was for BMW, but I'm not going to drive around Imola, which the setup was for. I'm driving around Spa, default setup, then checking the meta setup, seeing if it works. If it works, or if it doesn't work, I will still check a few other cars to just verify if it maybe is good for some cars, bad for some, and then we'll just go to the conclusion. So let's jump into Automobilista 2 and Spa and have some fun. So now we are in the Cadillac around Spa, as I said. And we're trying this in the new default setup after the update. Well, that felt a bit weird. Felt like the car had a bit of turbo lag. We put it into full quali mode. Then we rotate it by sliding, which made me lose quite a bit of time. So we'll do, like my previous video, we'll do 2 laps to see how good the car is. And whilst we're driving this, I just want to say I'm looking very forward to having the Aston Martins. Okay, so the issue there is, trail braking maybe? Not so sure. But let me just drive out, maybe adjust the brake bias a bit. So we'll also, for the next setup, we'll drive it with the standard brake bias and then just maybe do a few adjustments depending on. So we'll see when we get to that. But yeah, with Automobilista 2, I hope to see the Aston Martin, but maybe they might add the Acura. I have nothing pointing towards it, that's just a feeling I have. But yeah, this car is really pointy. But I mean, it is a prototype after all, a hypercar. And also there are 2 main reasons for me choosing this car, or 3 technically. The first one is that it isn't a BMW because of the meta setup. Then it is because of the noise, and also because this car had the first livery I actually recreated from real life. And you might be seeing a few of those recreation videos on my YouTube shorts. Or as a shorts, I should say. But now let's see. Okay. See, it feels like you need to really square off the slower speed corners. But if we just go like that. So yeah, a few issues. I believe I might be also too throttle happy through there. Let's see how it handles now. I think I was getting off the brake actually a bit too much, unsettling the car. So I need to practice my trail braking. So you can hear it scraping a lot when going on top of there, which the meta setup could mitigate. Okay, yeah, so this car really likes to lose the rear, you could say. I feel like, yeah, otherwise it feels a bit stable, bit weird. So, but in general, yeah, it feels a bit slippery, you could say. So now let's head off to Automobilista. No, let's head off to the setup menu and let's have a look at the meta setup. Okay, so now we're in the setup screen. So let's have a look at the main thing. So as far as I know, after looking at the setup or reading a bit in the forums, is if we just lower this to maybe, yeah, if we keep this at like 55 and then the ride height in the rear, lower it to like 64, maybe something around there to keep a low rake. Yeah, that maybe is the issue there. And then the bump stops have a bit of a modeling problem, we should say. Because in-game, the bump stops aren't actually bump stops. They are packers. And what that means is that this 5mm is not like soft where it tries to limit suspension damage. It's basically making it so the lowest you can go is actually is 5mm. And what they are doing in this meta setup is increasing this to roughly 35, let's say, in the front, and then 44 in the rear. So what they're doing is making it so you only have a little bit of suspension movement, and the minimum ride height is actually the ride that you could say which you feel as optimum. So that helps a bit. But what they've also done is reduced slow bump, I believe it is, to minimum. Yeah. Let me just double check quickly the meta setup and I will see if there are any further changes. Okay, so what they do actually is keep the rake minimum at the same height. And then they roughly do the same thing with the middle, with the third spring. So try and keep it at the same height. So that's something very interesting. And then what they do with the suspension. Okay, so this one goes only up to 31, it seems. So if we just lower these to 31. No, yeah, no, these were about supposed to be the same. And then the middle stays at 31. And then what they do is to also lower all of these to minimum. And then let's see if this actually works. And they also do it in the middle here. So that's very interesting. So this, I believe, is quite a bit like the ACC setup, where you had a lot of weird settings. So yeah, so the spring rate doesn't seem weird, but it seems like, yeah, very soft anti-roll bars too. So if we do it like that, and it looks roughly the same. And then, yeah, I don't see anything else really, which is special. We can just increase that, and then, yeah, that to that, and there aren't really any other settings. Let's just keep that at 50. Well, let's increase it to 58 so it's more in tune with the previous setup. So if we just save this as create new setup, meta. So, and now let's drive and see how good this car actually feels now. And for the sake of Razer, I hope it feels absolutely horrible. But let's see. So the car does feel stiffer through there when going slow. On here, it doesn't really feel any stiffer. But then it started making noises at the end of the short straight there. So now let's see going here down to Eau Rouge, how it looks like. Okay, so it actually doesn't feel that bad. And then if we have a look here, yeah, you have the bump and you have the height and the travel, so it's basically touching it. Oh. Okay, that was not intended. That wasn't my intention. If we go like that to there, yeah. So now, let's just drive a bit and see. Okay, so with that 100% brake pressure and also the front brake bias, which I did, seems like it was a bit too bad. But the car seems to actually not have so many issues. Let's see if it's actually quick when going. But yeah, it still feels like it's not perfect, but still has a few issues. So far from just driving this, it feels like just a quick way of making an okay setup. Sure, you can probably be very quick on it, but if it automatically makes the car very quick, but you can't make it, like, if this is the only way to make them quick, yeah, I would say the meta and of these things. But if that's a way, but then you can also do it properly and get it as quick, then I don't really see it as a meta. So let's see here. So yeah, I braked quite late for there. So in reality, so far, it feels okay. So I had a much better turn 1. Now let's see. Okay. Can be a bit edgy now. But I have actually a theory about what it's trying to do, which is technically, I would say, a smart thing. So I mean, it feels like it is making me a bit quicker, not a lot quicker though. Now let's try through here the medium speed corners. Okay, so yeah, it just feels really stiff, and I feel like the stability comes from what they're trying to do, which is anti-dive and anti-squat. So what they're doing with the suspension is making it move freely, so as soft as possible, which doesn't seem too bad in this game. And then what they're also trying to implement is anti-squat and anti-dive, so the aerodynamics isn't heavily influenced by if you're braking or accelerating out of a corner. Like you can see through there, it feels quite a bit more stable. So this is actually... the setup feels quite alright. But would I call it a meta? So far, I wouldn't really say it, because it feels like it's not giving that much of a speed. It doesn't add so much speed, which you can't do properly. It just feels like Oh, let me just do a few weird settings. Play with the packers and then boom. It works. Hallelujah. So now, I went even quicker through the first sector. Probably because of my better better driving. But now, let's see how quick this setup is with another very popular car class, GT3 Gen 2. Okay, so now we are in the Lamborghini, seeing if it actually drives better. And I've done the same sort of philosophy with this car. And it feels like on traction, I will have to try it second lap, but on traction it feels a bit more oversteery. Now let's see, how well will I be here? According to my Delta, I won't be quick at all. But yeah, on the braking, the car feels really nice, actually. But otherwise, it doesn't feel that good. But it could also be a placebo. So far, the car feels okay, I would say. Okay, so now we have the lap which actually counts coming up. But yeah, the braking performance feels very good. But yeah, I still feel like this car isn't actually better. It feels good, but I mean, it doesn't feel like, oh my god, this is unachievable. Okay, so now let's see the braking. Yeah, so you can really attack the corners on entry, which I really like. Now you can push. But yeah, it feels like on mid-corner and exit, the vehicle feels very weird. Went a bit too wide through there. Okay, so yeah, the car... if I didn't make the same mistakes, I could have gone a bit quicker, roughly the same as my lap time using the default setup. So yeah, in GT3s it's definitely not the best, and I've already played around with this before to see if it's a meta. and if it felt good. And this was like before, this was I believe during the beta of V1.6 or like at the start of it. And it definitely didn't feel the car, it didn't, definitely didn't feel that the cars became better. But now, before we go on to the conclusion, let's try one last car. And this one is probably the quickest, I think it's the quickest car in Automobilista 2. Or at least the second quickest. Okay, so now we're trying it in the Formula Ultimate Gen 2 to see how good it is. Okay, the car feels really quick. Okay, so it sounds like it's bottoming out, but I don't know if that could just be the suspension hitting the bump stops. So that's something you have to play around with probably if you want to make this car feel better. This car feels very quick. But does it feel like... Yeah, that's the issue though. That if you have to set them up properly so that the bump stops don't make the car actually feel worse. Because that's an issue I found with some cars if you set it up too low. But yeah, it was a long time since I drove this F1 car. That sounds like popcorn. Okay, braked way too early. So now let's see if the second push lap maybe helps. Okay, no. So now, after driving these, let's draw the conclusion. So you might be wondering, what is the conclusion? Well, is it a meta setup? Not really. Can you achieve the same performance doing normal setups? Yes. Is this just a quick way to make it okay setup? Yes. Let me explain. So in the LMDH we tried default and the meta setup. The meta setup made it better because it helped with avoiding squat and dive. So that helped a bit, but I feel like if you play, maybe you can just play around with the third spring to help with that. Instead, you don't have to play with each corner. Then when we jump into the GT3 car, did it make it feel better? Sort of, maybe. It felt bit good. It felt quite good on braking, but then mid and exit, where you want to use the throttle ideally, not so good. And then the F1 car, yeah, you have to set it up properly, but either way, I still feel like a proper setup feels better. You can probably use these to sort of simulate anti-dive and anti-squat, but I'm not so sure. Probably people who are better, like Steelcast or something, will comment on this in the future. And if any of you who maybe know more than me can comment down below. Just keep it civil and don't be rude to me, or I'll hide your comments. But once you're done then commenting, please hit the like button and also subscribe. My next video, we'll have to see what it's on, because I know the Aston Martin update will be coming this month, according to Renato, so take it with a pinch of salt. And if it's coming this month, I will probably be able to make a video on it, or I will definitely be able to make a video on it. We'll have to see when it drops. Next week, probably not. The week after that, I would say it's quite likely. So we'll see what I make for videos until then. I will be actually dropping a few shorts. As of recording this, it will be the same day. So for you who are watching this on the day I released this video, it will be yesterday that I released all of the shorts, helping you with liveries and also requesting people to help me. And if you want to help me, the Discord is in my YouTube Discord is in the link down below. But until then, I've been Racing Legend. You've been my amazing viewers. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.